Week 16 in the NFL, the Bills are 8-6. Who saw that coming 3 months ago? But here we are. I'm with Vic of the Buffalo News. I'm Jonah Vic from Channel 2 Sports. Bills take on the Patriots in Foxborough this coming week. It's a big game when it comes to the playoff scenarios. Not as important as the Bills season finale in Miami, but important nonetheless. Players often hear this outside noise, all of the scenarios. They tell us we're not thinking about it. How realistic is that? Are they able to put this out of their mind?
Never believe a player or a coach who tells you that they're not paying attention to the playoffs. That's all they're in this for, basically, and they are quite aware of it. We give them no choice. I mean, they're bombarded by it with every possible media outlet that is talking about it, and especially here in Buffalo. You're talking about a team that hasn't made it for 17 years. They know that that is topic A, and you name it, with everybody. As far as how they pay attention to it, Jonah, here's the other thing. They don't go through, I don't think, all the permutations, the guys I've spoken with, because if it's given us a headache, it's given them a headache. The coaching staff and people on the staff who are assigned to look through all these things, and of course working in conjunction with the league, which keeps all of its teams and all of us informed on all the various possibilities. Yeah, I mean, it's information that you should have as a team, that you need to know, and they need to know that. But more importantly, they need to know that win against the Patriots, it's a good thing. Win against Miami, it's a better thing. Mm-hmm. And getting help is the best thing when you break it all down.
And when it comes to help, the Ravens losing a game, whether it's this Saturday night against the Colts or against the Bengals in Week 17, a Ravens loss plus a Bills win against the Dolphins means that 17-year playoff drought is over. That's kind of the simplest way to look at it. Obviously, there are many other outcomes. The Bills have a 36% chance of making the playoffs, according to 538, the analytical statistical site when it comes to chances and everything like that. But in your mind, in terms of watching this team play and given the test that they have, 2 road games against a very good Patriots team that's looking to lock up the 1 seed, and then against a Dolphins team that's been playing well at home, how realistic is it for fans to think that this Bills team can make the playoffs?
Jonah, after the New England game here and watching them lose 23-3 against a Patriot team that was not playing its best overall, in particular on offense, and I think the Bills defense had a lot to do with a less than typical Tom Brady day. I felt after that game, where there was such a wide disparity, that they just had no business even thinking about the playoffs, that none of us should even discuss it. Even if the math and the lousy competition of the AFC said it might still be so. I have come to change my mind somewhat over these last couple of weeks. It's not just because they've won their 2 games. Those were games that they should win. You play the Colts at home and you play the Dolphins at home. And even after the Dolphins beat the Patriots, I wasn't convinced that they would roll into Orchard Park and roll over the Bills and have the same success, because that's not been what they've been. They've been an inconsistent team. I look at the Bills, however, dealing with the snow, all those conditions against the Colts, and then keeping that focus, and with a quarterback coming back from a knee injury, Tyrod Taylor, with all the other issues with injuries and distractions that could be bothering them or certainly getting in their way, they didn't let that happen. And they beat the Dolphins, and I think did so, at least through the first half, mainly in resounding enough fashion to convince me that they are locked in to trying to get to the postseason and being that kind of team. And you talk to the players, it's a different feeling throughout that entire club as far as guys paying attention to the coaches in meetings and being on their details.
Yeah, and in talking to the players after the win against the Dolphins and Coach Sean McDermott on Monday, they are doing this in part for Kyle Williams. I mean, he's been here 12 years, never made the playoffs, team leader, obviously, a great guy to have in the locker room, but again, never been to the postseason. And I think a lot of guys in that locker room are rallying around the fact that, hey, we have this chance to send one of our best players, our most respected, toughest, fiercest players to the playoffs for the first time. Let's go out and do it. Micah Hyde's all about it, Lorenzo Alexander, the list goes on and on. So you wonder if that plays a role.
I think it's a factor. I would stop short of saying it's the only driving force, but it's definitely an important one. He is such a well-respected well-liked guy in that locker room who has acted like a big brother figure to a lot of teammates. If you talk to Marcel Darius to this day, I think the thing he misses most about being a Buffalo Bill was being Kyle Williams' teammate. And so I think that's part of this discussion, is how they feel about wanting to, quote, get there for him. But you've got other veterans on this team, LaShawn McCoy, Lorenzo Alexander. You got guys that don't have a lot of years left on their careers and who want this time that they've spent with the Bills, the ones who haven't been with them for their whole careers. Eric Wood, for instance, has. I mean, they want this to count for something, and they're in it for the here and now. You can talk about all these build for the future plans and accumulating draft picks and on about long-term sustained success. You know what? People worry about today, and it isn't just the players who only think in terms of year to year, because they don't know what next year brings. It's the fans as well. Fans aren't sitting there saying, boy, can't wait for this great plan to play out. No, if they get a chance to celebrate the end of this drought, this city will be just, I think it'll be incredible, actually, and that's just making it as a wild card team.
Fandemonium, you could say.
Yeah.
Well, the Patriots have some injuries that they're dealing with. Gronk is obviously going to be back on the field. He was against the Steelers. Curious to see how that'll play out against the Bills, given his hit against Trey White. Rex Burkhead out with an injury. He had 2 touchdowns against the Bills.
Right.
And you wonder how that's going to affect the game plan. Things could change here. So Chris Hogan back on the field.
Supposed to be.
Not 100%.
Yeah.
So there's some moving parts here for the Patriots on offense, and you wonder how much of a factor that's going to play here in the second edition of Bills Patriots. Well, we'll break down that game much more when we see you on Sports Talk Sunday at 10 a.m. on Channel 2. For Vic Carucci of the Buffalo News, I'm Jonah Vic from Channel 2 Sports. Thanks for watching online.